From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello and welcome to episode 192 of the Anxiety Project podcast. I am Brad Robinson. Today, I think this is one of the best podcasts I've ever recorded. I think this way because I'm examining this powerful story that relates to the suffering you are contending with. I'm talking about Jonah and the whale. Now, I think stories are what we have. They resonate with us because we want to connect with other people who have solved the challenges we're contending with. I watch a movie 10 times without even realizing what I'm doing. Why am I connecting with this movie, this story like this? And then when I start to pick it apart, when I start to psychologize and analyze the piece of art, it then opens up more pathways. Like when I analyzed Groundhog Day, I think that was podcast 89, 90, 91, somewhere around there. It opened more doorways, more meaning emerged. And now I appreciate the movie at a deeper level. So I feel like this episode, it's going to change your life. If you are suffering, if you're stuck in anxiety, then re-listen to this episode. Study this episode. Listen to all the other podcasts. Share this podcast with someone you know to be suffering, who is looking for that meaning. Before we dive into this powerful, life-changing story, let's go over your comments briefly on previous episodes, starting with Headman. Thank you for leaving this comment. You say, completely agree with ego. I remember when I tried meditation and yoga for the first time, I felt ridiculous doing it. It was like, I was like, I'm no Buddhist monk. But over time, consistently doing it, I grew to love it. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love how you left that on the YouTube video because you're going to help somebody by leaving that comment. And yeah, you feel like a fool doing it. You feel like you are starting from grade 1. But the more you do it, the more you build a foundation, the confidence within you, because you just naturally get better at it, right? So yeah, thanks for that comment. Laughing Buddha 333 says, "Hi Brad, I am continuously seeking reassurance, and no matter how much I get it, it lasts until I feel panic again." So I notice here that you say it lasts until I get the panic again. So it's short-lived. So that tells you about how unhealthy the reassurance seeking is. It's short-lived, doesn't last. It's not a long-term game. And then you say, then I want it again, which of course, yeah, it's only temporary numbing, I understand. And then you say, even now, as I'm trying this, my hands are shivering and I want to go to the doctors again. How do I stop seeking reassurance? So that's such a great question. I just released a YouTube video about the step-by-step approach to panic. So check out that video. That'll help you build that inner trust within yourself, that you can handle situations that make you feel uncomfortable and overcome them, which is really important for desensitization. And then you've built reassurance as a habit, right? Because you're getting a positive outcome. The reward of the habit is that temporary numbing, that feel-good sensation. But when the person is not around, your family member, your partner is not around, what happens is that you're going to be left alone and you're not going to have the internal resources to handle the challenges. So you have to build that confidence and bravery within yourself when you are in those challenges. And the way to do that is watch the video I just posted about panic. And what that'll do is the more you overcome the challenges by yourself, the more you'll have the confidence to be out in the world on your own, and you will have the understanding within yourself that you can handle any of these other challenges that come your way because of all the other challenges you've stacked up behind you that you've overcame. So I hope that has helped you, Laughing Buddha. Thanks for that amazing question. Now, let's get into this story of Jonah and the whale. Jonah was a prophet, and God called upon him to go to the city, Nineveh, and help these wicked people. The city is in chaos. And this is a big responsibility for Jonah. And this responsibility makes Jonah anxious, and he runs away from God. Now, this is so interesting because meaning comes into people's lives based on the amount of responsibility they decide to take on. They decide to burden. And you run away from responsibility, who knows the consequences you will face. And the first step in anxiety recovery is the adoption of responsibility. Taking on that burden that things are not going well for you, that you have to bear this cross, this responsibility of getting better, that your parents are not going to do that for you, or your doctor, or your partner, right? Like Laughing Buddha, it's those people around you. Yeah, they provide you with the reassurance, but it's until you take on the burden, things are not going to change. And so Jonah gets anxious by this huge responsibility, and he runs in the opposite direction of the city. He's like, I'm not going there. I'm not facing that chaos. And so he climbs aboard a boat and he ignores the call. Like the anxiety sufferer, coping and ignoring the truth of the situation, ignoring their body. Their body is screaming out to them, hey, things need to change. You are stressed out. Because if the anxiety sufferer truly had a dialogue with themselves, they would admit that things are not right and too much to bear. I see it all the time. People who are suffering, they're having heart problems. They're having internal health concerns accumulating, and they're not sleeping. And then problems are stacking upon each other all around them. Their relationships, their job, their overall health, things are stacking against them because they're continuously not having that dialogue with themselves. They're not communicating and admitting to themselves that, okay, things need to change, because if I don't change my internal structures, then God knows what catastrophe is going to come into my life if I continue down this path. So confronting the truth is important. Confronting the truth rather than repressing all of these emotions and thoughts and feelings. Because it's easy. We live in that society. We can watch TV. We can distract ourselves with our phones. We can go to the beer store. We can smoke weed. There's lots of things we can do. And so Jonah ignores the truth. He ignores the truth that things are not okay. And he turns his back on his higher self, God. He turns his back on his higher self. And so now, Jonah being on this boat in the middle of the ocean, God sends a great storm. And so the more you ignore the call, the more storm you will experience. The more you ignore the call, the more storm you will experience. And things snowball quicker into chaos. And like the anxiety sufferer, they shrink their world down smaller and smaller and smaller. Things get worse quicker and quicker. They start to grab onto coping strategies that only make things worse. And so things get worse pretty damn quick. Jonah admits to the crew that it was him whom God is upset at. And so the crew tosses Jonah over and the storm stops. Now, this is the beginning of anxiety recovery. Once you admit to yourself the truth of your situation, the storm subsides. You cannot get better until you recognize that you need a power greater than yourself to guide you out of the mess, right? So a mentor, you need a mentor. You need to admit to yourself first that I need to come to the truth of the situation. Yeah, I ignored all of the signs. It was my fault. So if you're suffering from anxiety and you're accumulating a lot of immune problems because of your constant stress and you're not sleeping and you're not eating right and your whole rhythm is out of whack and your relationships are all messy, your work is all messy, everything around you is messy, coming to the truth of the matter will help you rise out of the storm, because you admit to yourself that if I take on this responsibility, then I could do something about it. I could actually control my situation rather than everything around me controlling me. The chaos is controlling me. Things are just going to be like this. Well, no. What if I can do something about this chaos? What if it's my fault that things have gotten so damn out of control? And that's where change begins. Instead of drowning in the ocean, Jonah is swallowed by a whale sent by God. What's so cool is that in the unknown, Jonah finds the answers. Like I talked about in the previous episode, it is only in the unknown you will find your potential, your new self. It is the unknown where you develop the skills you need to be the most self-actualized, independent, strong-willed person you can be. Making a new life for yourself means that you jump out of the ship into the unknown, out of the ship. And yes, it is the fear of drowning that stops most people from jumping out. But if you don't jump, then you will end up wrecked from that other storm. And you will not discover your higher self. I see those people suffering from anxiety. They're too afraid to change their life, but their life is already so chaotic. It's in ruins. Their health is compromised. Their relationships, their job, everything around them is compromised, yet they refuse to change and sacrifice those things that aren't working for them because they're afraid of drowning. They're afraid of going out into this new unknown because suffering has become their new familiar. It's now a habit for them to wake up suffering, to check in on their symptoms, to go for reassurance, to cope by smoking weed, drinking medications. And so it's the unknown outside of that. If suffering is your known territory, then anything outside of that is your best bet. So jump off the boat because maybe that storm will subside. For 3 days and nights, Jonah sat in the belly of the fish, and all the while thinking about himself and his plight, which means his difficult situation. So here, he is examining his life. He's going over his life with a fine-toothed comb. And you cannot heal if you do not explore the depths of your unconscious. All the situations you stumbled into in the past, your traumas, all of the baggage you're carrying, you can't heal and continue forward towards your higher self until you examine where you came from, how you ended up in the traumas of your past, and to let them go. To let the traumas go. And so here Jonah is doing just that. In this unknown, in the belly of the whale, outside of the ship that he was in, outside of the old territory he used to inhabit, now he's in the belly of the whale, in the depths of the ocean, which is also symbolized by the unconscious mind, by the way, from Carl Jung. The unconscious mind is usually symbolized by water because in the water you can pull up things from the depths, right? So in your unconscious mind, you can pull things up from the depths of your unconscious mind. You can pull up answers. You can pull up thoughts. You can pull up past traumas from those depths. So here Jonah is in the depths of the water, in the whale, and he's pulling up stuff from within himself. You can see how symbolic that is. It's unbelievably cool. And so Jonah finds out the answers within himself in this whale. And then God has the fish throw up Jonah onto the shores of Nineveh. So he's now at this city of chaos. And so Jonah, he says to the people of the city that this whole place, this city will be destroyed in 40 days, and that you should mend your ways now before time is up so that you can attain heaven. And so the people believed Jonah and they turned from their wickedness. They attend to their wretched lifestyle. They change the chaos. And so now at this point, you see Jonah reach his potential. He now did what God has asked him to do. He's now the hero. And now God has mercy on the people because Jonah did this great thing and that the city changed their ways. God has mercy on the city and he does not destroy the city. At this point, Jonah, he's fulfilling his potential. He rises to the occasion. He's like the student becoming the master at this point. We then see Jonah challenge God to his decision on not destroying the city. And I think this is so cool because even though Jonah got to this point in his journey, he's now the hero, he's now challenging God further. He's challenging the master. And I noticed that in my recovery, I started to challenge my mentors the more I went onto this path. Because after I got everything I attained from one of my mentors, I started to challenge that mentor because I started to look into other mentors and broaden my horizon in this recovery. I started to I didn't start, but I was continuing to grow, and then I started to challenge my mentors, the people above me that I was looking up to, my higher self, that were supporting my higher self. And I think that's so interesting. I think that because I was getting all this new knowledge and resources and having all of this confidence within me, I started to challenge the ways of being. I started to challenge the structures of society, the structure that my mentor was preaching and teaching me. And so I think that's cool because because I'm challenging God, challenging my mentors, challenging the things above me, I'm stretching myself further and I'm reaching higher aims by doing this. And so we see now Jonah, he's reaching higher aims. He actually leaves and builds a hut. And then he wrestles with God for the rest of the story, right? He's wrestling God, metaphorically speaking, arguing with him for the rest of the story until Jonah realizes that God's decision to not destroy the city was the right decision, because he's realizing that all of these people, women and children and men in the city, are all made in the image of God, even though they don't have the same beliefs I have. And so he gets to this next higher level of awareness or self-mastery. And so I love this story because he starts off as this anxious, timid person who runs away. And then throughout the story, confronting himself, confronting the responsibility, healing from his past, he's spit up onto the shore. He then attends to this great responsibility and he succeeds. He becomes the hero. And I noticed in my journey that after I came out of my anxiety disorder, I started to help the people around me, my community. I was like Jonah at this point. I was helping people online. Then I was talking to my dad about anxiety and helping him. And then I was helping my clients. And then this community of recovery grew and grew and grew because of the responsibility I originally took on by admitting to myself that, hey, I don't want to be stuck in suffering anymore. I don't want to be stuck in this chaos. So to conclude this story, if you do not face the truth of your suffering, then you will be swallowed up in its storm. But if you admit that this suffering is of your doing and it's your responsibility to get better, then in the belly of the whale is where you build a self-actualized person. You cannot heal if you do not face the fears you are running from. Desensitization from anxiety comes from facing the panic attacks and riding the wave of that storm. The more you face this, the more you realize you can handle more than you thought you could. You are braver than you thought. You have the resources within you to handle that chaos, because only running away will make you weaker and stuck in suffering. And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's podcast episode. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope that this episode resonates with you. Please share it with someone you know to be suffering or to be looking for that meaning, or if you want to just help someone improve their life, please share and leave your comments below. What did you think of today's episode? Lastly, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Brad's Powerful Anxiety Recovery Program is now available at unpluganxiety.com. The Anxiety Project program is downloadable and puts the power of anxiety recovery in your own hands. Visit unpluganxiety.com for more details. Recovery starts now.